Hi guys, so the chairman of the supermarket chain Marks and Spencer appeared on Nick Ferrari's LBC show where he demonstrated, I have to say, a lack of understanding over the bureaucratic exercise of shipping goods into the Republic of Ireland and France and other parts of the EU, which he described as pointless. Now, I think it's important to remember that Archie used to be a Tory MP, so that probably explains a lot. Anyway, let's hear what he had to say.
Challenges we've got on Brexit are to do with the fact that we have a big business in the Republic of Ireland and in France and somewhat in Czechoslovakia too. And what we've discovered, we've all done a crash course in customs union in the last year. And what we've discovered is that the European rules for governing borders or their customs union are really totally out of date.
Okay, they're not out of date. The problem here now, and I've talked about this before, the problem here is that Great Britain is a third country. Boris Johnson and the ERG and the Brexiteers wanted to be outside the single market and the customs union. They wanted as hard a Brexit as possible. So the consequences now are that Great Britain, not Northern Ireland is still part of the single market, but Great Britain is outside the single market and the customs union. It's been treated as a third country. What it wanted, what Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers wanted. So, if you want to export goods into the single market, there's a huge amount of bureaucracy. Maybe too much bureaucracy. But that's to protect the single market. The European Union have particular standards. The benefit of being a member is that you don't have to complete all this paperwork.
Are not suited for the purpose they're designed for. So what we've got is a fandango of bureaucracy. Wagons are lorries going to Dublin have to carry with them approximately 720 pages of documentation. And it takes up to 24 hours to prepare that documentation. So,
okay. 720 pages is a huge amount of documentation. What he's probably talking about here is because a lorry, a trailer contains a huge number of different products, you need a certificate for each product, or almost every product needs a certificate. But that's the consequence of being a third country. That's the consequence of Brexit. Once again, that's the consequence of the Brexit that Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers wanted. If you were sending one product, you'd probably just have one piece of documentation. But because it's a supermarket, supermarkets have a whole range of products, you're moving them from Britain into Ireland and France in some cases. And he said Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia doesn't exist. I presume he means the Czech Republic. But you're sending a huge number of different products on a lorry. Each of them need a piece of documentation to go along with them. But that's a consequence of being a third country.
Quite simply, that means that our product, our fresh sandwiches or ready meals going to Ireland or going to France are delayed by about a day. And that's not good if you're a sandwich. And the cost of doing this is we can only get, we're getting about 80% of our product through, less than that in France, because the French predictably are draconian. And these rules serve no purpose at all.
The French are draconian. You mean they should suspend the rules for what? For Marks and Spencer? For your company? You want the French to break the rules to benefit you? Like, the French are imposing the rules that they're supposed to impose, and that's a problem.
Because our food standards are higher than the European Union's.
Sorry to keep interrupting him, but he's talking a lot of crap here. Now, yes, he may be right here in regards to food standards. The UK has higher food standards, but I'm sorry, that's irrelevant. Great Britain is a third country. If you want to export into the single market as a third country, you have to complete mountains of paperwork. That's why it's beneficial to be part of the single market and the customs union. His beef should be with Boris Johnson, not the European Union, not the French, not the customs agencies, the customs department or whatever. His problem should be with the people who created this in the first place, this problem for Britain. Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers. Look, even if Britain had the highest standards in the world, it's irrelevant because you're a third country.
And they haven't changed since we were part of the European Union. So this is a pointless bureaucratic exercise.
One of the reasons... Oh my God. Okay. They haven't changed since they haven't changed since you were a member of the European Union. But they're going to change. Why do I say that? Because Boris Johnson's government has signed a trade deal with countries with lower standards. So if you're importing beef, hormone-treated beef from Australia, for example, the European Union say, we don't want that in our single market. So if there's a chance that Marks and Spencer has hormone-treated beef in Britain, and they're putting it on a lorry and it's going to the Republic of Ireland to a supermarket in Dublin, for example, the European Union say, we don't want your hormone-treated beef, so we need to check it. You have to prove that this sandwich or this steak hasn't been treated with hormones. We need the certification. So we need the bureaucracy. Do you understand now, Archie?
In making it more difficult to trade, and that's not in the interests of the British citizens and not interested in the Irish or French citizens either.
It's in the interest of the single market to protect the single market. You're saying that there's nothing to worry about here, but you should be banging on the door of Boris Johnson, because Boris Johnson is the one who could... he's the only one who can turn this ship around, get Britain to rejoin the single market and the customs union. And this would eliminate all your problems pretty much overnight. But you're not doing that. Why aren't you doing that?
I've heard paperwork called many things. I think fandango is a new word. I rather like that word. I'm going to be using that in... So is that what lies behind the decision to come out of France then, Mr. Norman?
We haven't made a final decision on France and probably will be making announcements shortly. But
I'm sorry, I'm only reading a headline that might be ahead of the game. M&S quotes pulling out of France over Brexit.
Yeah, we're a bit ahead of the game, Nick, as you usually are. We haven't made a final decision, but obviously with the difficulties we've got trading in France, we've got to reshape that business, and we're talking to our French partners about how we do that. And I'm afraid it does mean that the opportunity to invest and develop a business there has probably diminished very substantially.
Now, wouldn't you think, as I said before, that the chief executive of Marks and Spencer, Archie Norman, would be putting pressure on Boris Johnson or the Tory party that he used to be a member of? I don't know if he's still a member, but he used to be an MP. Wouldn't you think he'd be putting pressure on them to rejoin the single market and the customs union? Because then his lorries going from Britain to Ireland, or Britain to France, or Britain to Czechoslovakia, wouldn't need all this bureaucracy. If Britain rejoined the single market and the customs union, the sandwiches wouldn't be rotting inside trucks. They would be fresh. But he doesn't want to do that. Why does Archie not want to do that? I don't know if Archie is a Brexiteer. He definitely sounds like one, because he sees here the problem. People have been, other than myself I'm sure, have been presenting him the solution, and he's ignoring the solution and focusing more on the problem, and blaming the European Union for the consequences of Brexit. Blaming the European Union because Britain is a third country. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?